who comes in. Ooh. Definitely don't have quorum yet.
No, but I believe Stephanie and Peggy should be coming. And then Ruby has a meeting till 6:30, so if she can, I think she'd be joining after that, but we should have.
Can I make Eddie
Quorum.
Williams a panelist? Does he normally become a panelist?
Not usually, but you can.
He's here.
He is.
He's gonna get the star treatment.
Oh. He might be here for something that's not going to get heard.
We shall see. Oh, outside. Here's Stephanie. We got 3.
I'll make one more.
6, you get egg roll. That was a good movie. It was a fun movie. Okay, Pam, I am going to promote you to host. Whoops. And you are now in charge.
Oh, good.
Power. Don't let it go to your head. And I'm going to my night session.
Uh,
My little name tag. See you guys.
bye.
I just texted Peggy to check because I know at the last.
Laura? Was
Laura
not-
said she can't attend. Ruby
Okay.
said she'd be late. Peggy had said at the last meeting that she would be here. I haven't heard otherwise, so I just texted her.
That's right, she was coming back from something. Let's take. Two, 3.
Peggy says she's coming.
How come Ed is back in the waiting room?
Hi, Stephanie.
Hey, how are you, Joyce?
Fine, thank you. Hi, Joanne.
Hi there. I don't need to be a panelist, just observing. That's not me, that's Eddie.
Ed, oh, because I moved him back again. All right.
He doesn't want to be a.
Get him back.
Hi,
Hello, how are you, Eddie?
Well, he's gone now. I put him back as an attendee.
Okay, what is going on? Microsoft really is getting overbearing. Megan, do you want to respond to Art, who just added a chat?
Okay, yes, I don't know if it is on live stream, it would be on Brockton Community Access YouTube. I don't know if they're broadcasting it. I do know that we post the recordings on the city website following the meetings, but I can't speak to what BCA is doing at the moment.
I think we send him a recording.
Oh, there's Peggy.
Okay. All right. So, Megan,
Yes.
I lost my notes from our meeting, so you'll have to remind me what the continuances are.
So I believe we have 3 notices of intent. The only request for a continuance is Pleasant Street Blackledge has
Okay.
agreed to a continuance to the June 15th meeting to review some legal correspondence the commission has received, and it was received yesterday, so we have not had time to review it for its applicability. So the applicant has agreed to continue to give everyone a chance to review.
Okay. All right. So it being 6:09 p.m. on Wednesday, May 18th, 2022, and we have reached a quorum. I call to order this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission. In compliance with certain COVID measures, this meeting is being held remotely through Zoom, and people can join by clicking on the link or having requested the link. And if you are joining us at a time when the chair is going to recognize speakers, you can raise your hand and you will be recognized to speak. If you are calling in order to raise your hand, you need to press star 9 on your telephone. Okay, so do we want to just skip right to number 8 for the continuance, just in case anyone is here for that and they don't need to wait around through all the other?
Yes, I'm just looking to see if any of the representatives are here. I don't believe I see them, but I did get confirmation via email yesterday that they would like to continue to the
Okay.
June 15th meeting.
All
And I
right,
believe I uploaded that email correspondence to your drive just to have it.
okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to continue the notice of intent hearing for Pleasant Street map 003-49 to the meeting of June 15th?
Joanne Zigmund, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, Boris.
All in favor, Danielson, aye?
Zigmund, aye.
And Boris, aye.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a commission matter reviewing and approval of meeting minutes from the meeting of 5/5/22. Did everyone have a chance to review those? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Boris, so moved to accept the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Zigmund, second.
All in favor, Danielson, aye.
Curtis,
Zigmund, aye.
aye.
And Boris, aye.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is an enforcement matter for 58 Trout Street.
Okay, so for 58 Trout Street, it looks like the owner is here, so I'm going to move him over. Okay, so I've added him as a panelist, so he should be able to introduce himself.
Okay. Mr. Pina, if you could unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board. It appears like you are still muted.
I'm sorry.
There
Can you
you
hear
go.
me now?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Lucy Pina. I'm the one of the house 58 Trout Street in Brockton.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm supposed to be in the meeting last month, no, this month on the 5/5,
Yeah.
but I couldn't make it. Yep. It's my first time, so I'm on right now. Just take a couple doing this meeting because I don't have a time to take them out.
Yeah, Mr. Pina, you're breaking up. It seems like we don't have a great connection with you.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. If you could keep talking, we'll know better if we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying like I missed like the meeting for last time. It's May 5.
Yes.
I didn't have a chance to enjoy the meeting, but today I'm still at work. I just take like a couple hours break to enjoy the meeting to figure out this thing.
Okay. Megan, do you want to lead off on this?
Yes, what I heard is that I think he's looking to understand what we're looking for here.
Yeah.
So I can just give a reminder summary of, so this is the property at 58 Trout Street. It is 2 parcels, assessors map 164-35 and 164-34R. From looking at the available FEMA and Mass DEP maps, it looks like the rear parcel is mostly in the 100-year floodplain. And then also, it looks like a portion of the property contains bordering vegetated wetlands. And so I was out at the site a couple of weeks ago and comparing current site conditions to previous aerial imagery. It looks like there has been some work in the backyard. A fence has been put up around the perimeter. It looks like some new ground cover at minimum, some sort of astroturf has been put down. There's various sort of tables and wooden structures like that. And then directly on the other side of the fence, I did see some piles of debris. I don't know if they were related to work on the site or pre-existing. But any case, it looks like the work has occurred within the floodplain and at minimum, probably within 25 feet of the wetlands, if not within the wetlands. We can't be sure without a full survey and delineation. This is just based on the aerial imagery. So my recommendation had been that the commission review this and have a talk with the owner of record who's familiar with the work, because in order to go forward, what we're going to need is that a wetland scientist or an environmental scientist is going to need to mark the resource area boundaries So actually go out and flag the wetlands so that we know for sure where they are. That debris on the other side of the fence that's either in the 25-foot buffer zone or in the wetland is going to need to be removed. And then notice of intent application is going to need to be prepared and submitted to permit some of the construction activities and alterations that have gone on, at least those that will be able to meet the performance standards for the floodplain in the wetlands. And then once the wetland scientist and any engineer determines if there are any alterations that cannot meet the performance standards for floodplain or bordering vegetated wetlands, then there will need to be a restoration plan. So at this time, it seems like those are the steps that we need to be considering to both document what's happened on the site and then follow up with the proper mitigation and permitting.
Okay, and Mr. Pina, you are the owner of the property?
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know if you'd had, Mr. Pina, are you still there? Okay,
I thought he said he was at work or, and.
he
was
did,
taking
here he is,
some-
he's back
Yes.
again. Mr. Pina, can you hear me?
Ruby is online now.
Okay.
There, oh, sorry. Okay, we have both Ruby and Mr. Pina. Mr. Pina, and you can unmute yourself again. Are you the owner of the property? Again, you need to unmute yourself. So Megan, I'm going to ask, did you, does Mr. Pina understand what we're talking about with wetlands regulations and what the resource areas are?
So
Yeah,
Mr. Pina, he's received the letter I sent out with the aerial imagery and the layers and then the recommendations that I outlined. He has said that this is the first time he's encountered these, you know,
He's showing a
the
picture.
commission, so.
Yeah. So I'm guessing when you purchased the property, you were not aware that there were wetlands and that as such, that there were certain activities that you would not be able to do without a permit from the Conservation
I'm
Commission?
not heard you, nothing.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up and
Hello?
hi. Can you hear me?
Hello? I think we
Hi.
lost connection.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we lost connection.
Okay. We can hear you. It seems like you can't hear us. And it
Yeah,
sounds like,
now, yes.
okay. All right, so my question to you was, when you, I don't know how long you've owned the property,
3 years.
3 years. When you purchased the property, did anyone make you aware that you either had wetlands on the property or were adjacent to them and that there were certain activities that you could not do without getting a permit from the Conservation Commission?
So when I bought that house in the backyard, so it was,
Yeah, you're muted again.
hello?
Hi, now we can hear you again.
Okay, yeah, when I buy the property, So it was a huge backyard. So the guy I buy from, he told me like where it's my mark for the backyard. And then it doesn't have no fence. It was all the trees, it was all cut. It was all cut. Only thing I did, I put a fence only because I got kids. It's a lot of animals, like danger animals come to my backyard over the night. I got 3 kids, they play in the backyard, so I just put the fence. So last year, I just put the fake grass, those carpet grass on the ground. And then I just did a couple work with the wood pallets, those pallets for my
Yeah.
work. I just put a couple things. Like I said, I was gonna do I did a party last year with the no license. My idea it was this year to ask for license for permit, but I just noticed, I just know now we're not allowed to do the like a business on the property. I didn't know that. So now they told me I think it's not my land because I have a permit to do that. I'm not doing no construction in my backyard. I just put the fence. I don't know exactly if that's like my land, but for what I know when I buy my house, they show me like what's marked. That's the point I put in my fence on it, a circle. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I didn't need to know like a construction is gonna it's gonna need a permit on it because it's a couple feet like for my house. So like I said, we need to send someone there to show me like you know what I mean, exactly like what's going on. Like
Right, and that's what Megan was saying, and in her email, that you're going to need to hire a wetland scientist to come out and evaluate the site, determine where the wetland line is, and if there has been fill within the wetland. And it sounds like certainly there has been fill within the buffer zone to a wetland. So 100 feet from a wetland area is also jurisdictional by the Conservation Commission. It's protected by state law.
Yep.
And any work in that area requires permits, generally requires permits.
yeah,
so-
generally, yeah.
Yeah,
So I didn't cover the like nothing. Just it's a wood pallet. It's easy to take it off. It's easy to put it. I just like make a couple division. You know what I mean? So that's all. I'm not gonna do nothing, no construction. I know if I'm gonna do something in the future, my plan is do the pool, in-ground pool, but I have to go to the city to hire. You know what I mean? All that.
yep,
But right now it's nothing crazy, no construction like they will say I'm doing construction there because I did it
Okay.
like probably 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Just because last year I did that part and this year I tried to do something legal. They stopped me there. We're not allowed to. I'm not allowed to. I'm not going to do it anymore. I got to respect the law, you know?
yeah. Joyce, do you have a question?
I did have a question. Mr. Pina?
Yep.
Did you purchase it through a realtor or did you get it directly? Like, was it a purchase through an owner, directly from the owner?
He's a purchase to the owner. It's like he's a friend of mine, like I know him. It's uncle of my 2 sons. So he's the one show me. He's the one like tell me. And then his wife is a real estate. So
And they didn't say anything to you at all about this
Anything.
area being protected?
no, anything because I found it like all the way down to the like on the back the other house. It was like a ground electricity because they had a pool. The standard pool, it's like older. It was all damaged, but they have like a power there. And then I found it like a wire go to the under the ground. I found it like a power there. That's why I'm surprised. I said, how they say that's not my land if somebody was living here? I don't know. Like they have a pool here all the way down. You know what I mean? And then the tree it was all cut it. He showed me like where it's my property. You know what I mean? Like after a year, I put a fence because like I had 3 kids. They play out on the backyard. It's animal like danger animal like jump on there. That's why I protect. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah. But I think it's a misunderstanding. I need to figure out. I need to know like how, you know what I mean, to what's my land, like where to fix this, you know?
Okay, so we can move forward on this. Megan, I don't know if you've had a conversation with Mr. Pina in the past, but Mr. Pina, if you could get in touch with Megan, she can put you in touch with the professionals that you need to both help you define the
Definitely.
wetlands and also to
Definitely.
survey your land so you know exactly what your property is. And
Definitely.
then you can work with Megan on putting a plan together. You will do that with your wetland scientist because they will tell you
Yep.
what needs to be, but you should be checking in with Megan and getting some
Definitely,
guidance.
definitely, yeah, because I don't know about nothing about, you know what I mean? I'm
Yep.
new. Yeah, I don't know nothing about this, so
Yeah,
definitely want to need help, to try fix this to put it back. You know what I mean?
yep. Okay, Megan, does that work?
Yes, I have Mr. Pina's email, so I can send him some resources to get him started and he can check in with me that way too.
All right. What we'd ask is, so you are calling into this meeting from work. I'm
Yep.
assuming that means that I don't know if your job is always night work or it is sometimes night work.
I have 2 jobs, so that's one other job. I come afternoon to like a middle of the night.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm available. Yeah, I'm available. Like just heads up. You know what I mean? We can make it work.
yeah. So I would like it if we could have you back on the agenda for next month, just so we can get an update on what's going on and how you're doing
Cool.
moving
Yeah.
forward.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Okay,
10-4.
we will, then you'll get in touch with Megan, she'll get in touch with you, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for being here tonight and taking the time.
Yep. You guys have a good night. Thank you so much.
You too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. All right, the next item on the agenda is an enforcement matter for 53 Spark Street.
Okay, I don't see anyone in attendance unless they'd like to. Someone would identify themselves as being related, but otherwise I don't see anyone.
Yeah, I don't see anyone raising their hand. So Megan, if you would just like to go over.
Yes, I can give a summary up until this point. So this is another case. I visited this site a couple weeks ago, April 22nd, I believe. And I noted that on this property, 53 Spark Street, also known as Assessor's Map 167-7. It's for those who aren't familiar, it's a large industrial building with associated parking and driveway areas. During my visit, I noted a number of various vehicles of all types, cars, trucks, boats, containers, located off of the existing pavement and placed on the unpaved portion abutting or adjacent to the waterway. So I issued the letter asking the trustee to attend this meeting to discuss the activities on the site. The trustee and his partner did come into the office today. They requested that this matter be continued to the July 20th meeting. It's their position currently that the site and/or the activities on the site are exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act, but they did not at that time have supporting documentation to assert that. So my understanding is they're requesting the matter be continued to the July 20th meeting to give them time to do research and present information that they think will show that the site and/or the activity is exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act.
What
And
makes
so,
them think
yes.
it's exempt?
Again, without actual documentation, I can't speak to what the evidence would be, but my understanding is it's related to the historical mill complex exemption for riverfront area. So again, my understanding is the evidence that they are looking for is to determine the exact footprint of what would be considered the historical mill complex and what would meet the definition of that. So again, what we have currently is just aerial imagery, and by that you would be looking at what's the current building and current pavement, and there'd need to be more research to claim that there is a footprint for a historical mill complex that would exempt a certain area.
You are familiar with that. It's a different standard for riverfront, for mill complex, historic mill complexes in the riverfront area, if I'm not mistaken. It's not so much an exemption as it is a different standard. So in Brockton, because we are considered a mill town, we have a 50-foot riverfront area, and I believe that's reduced, I want to say, to 25 feet for historic mill complexes.
I mean,
We are 25 feet anyway.
our
Okay,
riverfront,
25 feet,
yes,
not
our
50.
riverfront
Okay, yeah.
is
Okay, so that's
25
the
Our,
25.
feet.
our
sorry.
riverfront is
Yes.
just 25 feet
Yeah.
The
here.
mill
mill-
complex is a
Right,
separate
a separate
definition.
designation.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't mean that they can do work though, even without a permit. I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at that in quite a while. But I don't think the work is exempt per se. So. So July, it's going to take them till July 15th. That just seems,
They requested
yeah.
that they haven't. They requested until July 20th to do research.
From my standpoint, I feel like that's a lot of time. If they really, if they were operating under that premise when the work was done, then they would be familiar and would have the evidence. And if this is something someone brought to their attention when they perhaps consulted with a wetland scientist or a lawyer, it just seems to me that a month is plenty of time for them to put together some evidence. I would prefer to see them back at the next meeting. I don't know if the other commissioners have any comments or thoughts.
I have a question. How long have they owned this property? And were they aware of the restrictions when they purchased the property?
Offhand, I don't have that information.
And I noticed there's 3 different time dates of the pictures. One seems like a long time ago. Do you happen to know the date when there was less vehicles on the property?
So there's different, I uploaded some aerial imagery, and that is separated by several years just to show what the parking lot looked like. I believe I uploaded 1996, 2013, and 2021 just to show the different aerials of what it looks like over the past 30 years. The photographs submitted, some of them are mine from my visit. A couple others I received, or I believe they were from the Brockton Police Department. I think they're dated May 10th, or they're written on the photograph. I added those as well. I thought I had taken more photos, but I think something happened with my phone. Maybe it wasn't registering all the photos. So I uploaded the ones I had taken and the ones I received from BPD from May 10th. So that's probably what the different dates are.
Can you show me where Trout Brook is in relationship to that picture? On Trout Street?
Are you referring to the aerial imagery?
Yes. Mhm.
Can you screen share, Meg?
Yes, give me one moment. Okay, can you see the picture?
Mhm.
Okay, so the waterway in question, it comes onto the picture from here. It goes under a culvert under the parking lot. It comes out here, it continues south. It goes into another culvert and empties out into Trout Brook. It is, from my understanding, from researching it over the past couple of days, it is a modified channel of the historical Trout Brook connection up under Howard Street. As it is now, it is, you can call it the historical Trout Brook. The rest of Trout Brook is actually culverted under Spark Street, even though a lot of sources still call this channel Trout Brook, but regardless of what you call it, it is the waterway. And so you can see it kind of bisects the site. It's daylighted for a portion of it and culverted in the middle.
Megan, I think I may have asked this question before. Has there ever been another enforcement order on this site? And Pam, this is kind of to you. I recall there being an enforcement order, I thought, on a property that abutted both Intervale and Spark Street in the past.
I am not familiar with another
Um,
enforcement order, but I would not have, I would not have been involved in a previous
Right,
enforcement
this would have
order.
been at least 15 years, more than 15 years ago.
I seem to remember something, but I'm not sure whether it was this property or
One of the abutting properties.
one of the
maybe,
abutting properties. However, this property was the site of the proposed cultivation, Megan?
Yes, I believe it went through site plan review, probably 2019. for
So
marijuana
as
cultivation.
part of that approval, the vehicles and the tractor trailers were supposed to come off of the site, and they were supposed to file with the Conservation Commission.
That's in 2019.
But that project fell through. The applicant never purchased the property from the owner.
So the owners,
Megan-
I'm sorry, the owners are still the old owners then.
I believe since at least that point, I don't know when they purchased the property. I mean, we can find that.
And Megan, the area of the alteration is within the area that's somewhat wooded?
Can you see my cursor?
Yes, yes.
So the area
Okay, right
here,
there.
this is the pavement, and again, this is just an approximation. The pavement ends, it appears about here.
Yeah,
So this area directly adjacent to the waterway. It looks to be a mix of grass and other vegetation from what I can see. And
Mhm.
so the vehicles are mostly parked in this area, and this is 2021 imagery, so it's a little bit older. But as of April 22nd, there were vehicles up to this property line, and then it appears likely over the property line there was a tractor trailer and a piece of construction equipment, and that seems to be the extent of what was out there from what I saw.
Do we know what the property is supposed to be used for? What is the business there?
I don't know that. It's zoned industrial, but I don't have information on its current use.
Okay.
I was just curious whether it would cause a hardship to the person who owns the property if that's a business that is using, tractor trailers and trucks and boats and things like that. So, but without any explanation from the owner, it's kind of hard to make any determination.
So what do you mean when you say a hardship, Peggy?
Well, I'm curious as to why the vehicles are in that area, whether he ran out of space and he needs to use that space for
Right,
conduct
but
business.
Yeah, the wetlands regulations, and Megan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't provide for allowing work in a resource area because of hardship.
Mhm. Okay.
So. All right,
Can
Megan, you can,
Sorry, Stephanie, can I just ask a question?
oh, sure.
So I'm just, so I guess the question really here is whether or not it's considered a historic mill complex. Is that what they're intending to prove at the next meeting?
Well, that's what they've communicated to Megan.
Gotcha.
That they're going to try to make a case that they can do what they want because of this supposed, and it may be that this qualifies as a historic mill site. But what they would need to demonstrate, I mean, clearly that image looks like that's fairly new pavement. It doesn't mean that they didn't repave an area that was already paved, but what they'd need to demonstrate is that the area of the riverfront area that they're in existed as part of a mill complex prior to 1946 and remained in place. So Megan posted an excerpt of the regulations with the definition of the historic mill complex. So a mill complex, so there are certain towns that it describes exactly what that means, or that affords them the fact that they are towns with mill complexes. Brockton is not one, but it also goes on to say a historic mill complex also means an historic mill included on the Massachusetts Register of Historic Places. It doesn't look like there's any remnants or artifacts of a mill, remaining of a mill that might have been on the register. An historic mill complex includes only the footprint of the area that is or was occupied by interrelated buildings, manufacturing buildings, housing, utilities, parking areas, and driveways constructed before and existing after 1946, used for any type of manufacturing, etc. So, I mean, again, what they'd have to demonstrate is that this area was part of a mill complex prior to 1946 and existed beyond 1946, probably up to the point that they altered it, if they altered it. But again, it clearly looks like this is new pavement. So anyway. My premise is that it should not take 2 months to discover this. You can, there are websites like historic, if you do a search on historic, topographic and historic aerial maps that they are free. And you could go in and you could look at aerial photographs going back a number of years, probably to 1946, but in this case, you'd start in more recent years to look at what was there previously and what's there now. And kind of build the case, and they're pretty easy to access. So I'm just of the opinion that I would rather have them come in 4 weeks. So Megan, if you don't mind stopping sharing your screen at this point, so I can see the rest of the commissioners. Oh, do you have a question about the?
Just a quick question, I'm sorry. I know Ruby had her hand up, I think, too.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I wanted to, so I could see everybody. It's hard for me to see everybody.
But there was an area to the far, like, side, the opposite end of the parcel that looked similar as far as kind of fuzzy rectangular things next to the riverfront.
Megan, do you want to bring it up again?
It was just on the exact opposite end, what looked like north, if it was, I'm not sure if it was, if it's a north-south positioning or not.
It is roughly. Yes, so again,
Yeah.
there's 2 sections of daylighted waterway here. Again, I think the pavement ends roughly here on this side, and then I'm not sure exactly where it ends to the north. I think it does change to more of a gravel mix at some point. And again, this is imagery from 2021, so the conditions do seem to be changing time to time, so this wouldn't be a shot today.
Mm-hmm. That might also be debris of some sort along the riverfront as well. Do you think? I don't know.
The only thing I know that has been there is one of those squares is a pump house.
Oh, okay.
That's the only structure I saw on the existing conditions plan for when it was proposed for marijuana cultivation. They did show a pump house, but nothing else over there, I believe, was shown as like a structure.
Okay. Thank you.
And Ruby?
So Stephanie, I tend to agree with you. I think if they feel that they were already established as a historical non-complex, they should already know what the status is and be able to present the documentation stating so that they could just move forward. To hold off till July really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. And thinking about it, if this was being considered for a marijuana cultivation facility, the potential buyers, I'm sure had wetland scientists look into the site and what the resource areas were and what the restrictions would be. I mean, that would be prudent of any potential buyer to do that work. So
it was included in, I don't know if you can see, this is from the site plan. So,
yeah,
you know, they did have a wetland scientist go out and flag the banks. Again, on this plan, they call it Trout Brook. Again, a lot of plans call it Trout Brook. USGS calls it Trout Brook. It, you know, name otherwise, it historically, I believe, was associated with Trout Brook before it was cut off and rerouted under Spark Street. But in any case, it has a bank, and the bank has been flagged previously.
Yeah, my comment wasn't related to a question of whether it was or not. It was about the mill complex, that even exploring. So, you know, you have this stream running through the middle of your property. I would think that there team doing their due diligence, the potential buyers would have explored that, but perhaps not, whether it was a historic mill complex or not. So, all right, I will entertain a motion. Does someone want to make it, or?
Sure, Zygmunt here. I'd like to make a motion to continue this to the next meeting in June.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the
Second.
motion.
Okay, all in favor, Danielson, aye.
Zygmunt,
Clay,
aye.
aye.
Curtis, I.
Forrest, aye.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a project update for 93 Tilton Avenue, which is,
Okay, I don't believe I see, I don't believe I see the owners or any of their representatives.
okay, and they were asked to come to the meeting to give an update.
Yes, so I sent them a letter, which I sent you all a copy as well, asking them to come to the meeting due to observed non-compliance with their issued order of conditions. So specifically, the first, I had sent them an email communication reminding them that their initiation of the work in the restoration area was supposed to begin on April or by April 15th. So ahead of that, I had checked in with them. Someone did contact me saying that they were going to start the work, but I explained that they also needed to have their pre-construction meeting and install their erosion controls. So that needed to be set up before the landscaper started doing any work. So I didn't hear back after that. So with the second deadline of May 15th was coming up, and that was the deadline to start planting in the restoration area. So I took a visit to the site and I saw that in addition to the restoration work not being done, the erosion controls hadn't been installed. The pre-construction meeting hasn't been held. And it looks like so far, there was the start of some site work. It looks like only the installation of the new deck. It doesn't look like any of the septic work has been started, but the deck was in. I did note that there is a construction dumpster and a porta potty beyond the approved limit of work, and that it looks like there's either new or relocated dumping in the buffer zone. It looked like some tires and a TV. Again, I don't know if that was new brought onto the site or was relocated as part of their moving stuff off of the site. So I sent that letter. The owner did call me shortly after and said that they had someone, they were hiring someone to come set up the silt sock and then to hold the pre-construction meeting. That call was last week. They said that they should have someone reaching out to me, what would be this week, to set up that, but I have not heard from anyone since then, so I can't confirm that the pre-construction meeting has been set up or the erosion controls are going in. And yes, I don't see any other indication other than the phone call I received after I sent them the letter.
Okay, so, I mean, it's already Thursday. So I mean, it's getting kind of late for them to be calling. And everybody, I know it's Wednesday, but in my world, it's already Thursday. Kind kind of late in the week to be having a pre-construction meeting and getting started on the project. Should we send them a reminder letter that they need to respond to the initial letter? And I'm just putting that out there to the commission.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Joyce, go ahead.
I would suggest that since there are actually two deadlines, right? That
Yep,
that have been overlooked. So, it seems to me this was a.
an
it was gonna
enforcement of
be-
it.
Yeah, wasn't this going to be a septic system, and that was going to be like kind of a long road that was going to be installed in a fairly delicate area?
There was quite a bit of BBW, yes, and it's
Yeah,
a septic system with a long attachment, so to speak, because the available upland to put the septic system is pretty far from the house.
mhm,
So, yes, it was the septic system installation, and then to remediate a previous enforcement order under a prior owner, they also had that restoration area with the
Right.
time deadlines.
yeah. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't issue a request for some kind of action in response to the letter that you already sent.
Okay, do we have agreement? All right, will you send a follow-up letter, Megan?
I can, yes, and what are there specific requests you would like to make? Would it be attendance at the June 15th meeting, a written response?
Both.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think they should call you as well.
Okay.
And certainly have a timeline. Next
Yes,
timeline.
yeah.
Have we established any consequences for ignoring an enforcement matter?
Well, at this time, an enforcement order hasn't been issued. The sort of escalation would be to issue an enforcement order. And then if the enforcement order is not answered, it would be passed on to the law department.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is a request for minor change for lot 84 Thatcher Street.
Okay, so we have Ricky De Silva's here, who is doing the work on the site, who's the applicant.
Hello,
Good evening.
good evening. How
So
you?
we're doing well. Do you have video?
Yes, hold on. Yep,
Thank you. So if you would state your name for the record and then explain what the change is that you're proposing.
Ricky De Silva. And I'm looking to see if I could remove the retaining wall that's on the approved plans.
And could you explain why you want to remove the retaining wall?
Because if the retaining wall was initially put on the plans because of the steep slope of the fill that we had to do, because the foundation was built high up off the ground to not get into the the high water table over there. However, after backfilling and instead of using a full 8-foot foundation, I use a 5-foot foundation with the 3-foot knee wall. The grade actually looks very well, almost looks to like a street grade. So I would actually be having to excavate more to make a retaining walls so that it meets the approved plans. If I do not use the retaining wall, it actually looks much better, and it actually will drain away from the house and the property.
Okay, it sounds like a reasonable request to me and it sounds like the better solution. Any comments from the commissioners? Okay, could I ask for a motion determining that the request is minor in nature and allowing the elimination of the retaining wall? And I believe, Megan, you've gone out and looked at this, right?
Yes, so I
Yeah.
did go out and I can confirm that the site is graded out in the front from the house to the street. It's a pretty gradual grade. I would agree that you would have to do more work at this point to grade it as it was shown and put in a retaining wall. The only note I made is that the slope on the side that's touching the abutting property at 155 Thatcher, that slope is still steep as was proposed. And as you may recall on the plan, it's proposing that interceptor trench to help capture and divert some of the stormwater that's presumably going to flow down where the slope is steepest. So I think as long as that trench is still put in, the grading in the front wouldn't have a significant impact to anything.
So the you plan to install the interceptor slope still?
Yes, that is correct. I haven't done it yet because I wanted to see what the result of this meeting would be. Because if I did it, then I have to go put a retaining wall up, then I would have to go back and dig some more. I'd rather do it all in one shot so it all flows together.
Okay, all right, makes sense. So do I have a motion as I made to determine that this is a minor change and allow the plan to be changed to not include the front retaining wall?
Zygmunt, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, Boris?
All in favor, Danielson, aye?
Clay,
Second,
I.
Curtis, I.
Boris, I.
That's everybody. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. De Silva.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. The next item on the agenda is a notice of intent. This is a continuation of 290 Thatcher Street for installation of light poles for Massasoit College.
Molly.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Molly Lennon. I'm with TRC representing Massachusetts Electric Company. We're here to talk about the Massasoit streetlights project. I'm sorry for missing last meeting. I had a family emergency, but we're looking to upgrade the electrical infrastructure that's powering 9 streetlights along Massasoit Boulevard. So this involves the installation of a transformer box with 2 bollards and then handholds at the base of the streetlights that are already streetlights are existing. We're looking to add the handholds and then install a conduit connecting all of those. So since the last time I talked with you all, we have received a DEP file number, and I've also sent you a updated figure 2 with a different background to make things a little more clear, and the connection of the transformer box and the conduit has been updated on the plan set to more accurately represent what it will look like. I'm happy to share the figure on my screen or answer any questions that you all may have right now.
Megan, I think the final outstanding question that needs to be addressed is whether the impacts to the bordering lands subject to flooding are negligible to flood storage capacity, or whether compensatory storage is required. Molly, have you done analysis to determine that?
We've looked over this a little bit. There's no base flood elevation listed by FEMA for this area, but the transformer pad itself is only 21 square feet at the base. So we feel that any flood storage that would be offset is pretty negligible. But we haven't looked into any other details of that.
And when you said 21 square feet, is that the footprint or the cubic?
So that's the footprint of the transformer box. We're raising the transformer box 2 feet above the ground level to get out of any floodplain or flood zone. And then the transformer box itself is another, let's see, it's another 4 feet tall, or 3.5 feet tall above that. So like 5.5 feet.
Molly, would you mind showing your diagram?
Yeah. One moment. Let's go out here. So this is this diagram, or would you like to see the civic drawing?
The other one that
The
was.
civil drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is what the transformer box will look like. So there's the concrete pad and then there's a box on top of that. So this is the pad itself, and then this part is underground.
Is the height of it designed to withstand flooding in the floodplain?
It's just a plastic box around it, so that's why we've raised it. The bottom part of it can withstand water, but the top we want to keep out of the water. That's why we've raised it. 2
So
feet.
maybe I didn't phrase that quite well enough. So the transformer sits on the pad,
Uh-huh.
and you have a raised covering over it, or my question is it raised high enough that if the area does flood, because this is bordering land subject to flooding, will the transformer, the business portion, be sufficiently protected from the rising water?
We believe so. The area where the box would be located is, I don't know, we didn't survey the land, so we're not quite sure, but I would say it's probably 6 or so feet above the water level already. And then you have the additional 2 feet on top of that. So that's what the engineers have added.
And Molly, you said that it was a 21 square foot base. Is that the actual base that's going to be sitting on the ground? But then you said part of it was actually going to be underground. What's the actual displacement, do you know, of soil by whatever that base is?
Not off the top of my head. I think maybe 41 cubic feet, maybe.
Megan, is that enough to be concerned about as far as storage, compensatory storage? I don't know enough about compensatory storage at all.
In displacement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the language in the performance standard is such that, if the lost flood storage will contribute to a rise in flood stage. So there is no number threshold of like volume of displacement that triggers negligible versus non-negligible. Unfortunately, it's the determination of the commission that the displacement volume, whatever it is, would it cause a change in flood stage in in the event
In the area.
of a flooding scenario. So again, there is no number. It's complicated in this case because there is no base flood elevation. Usually if there is a base flood elevation, what you see is, a cut and fill table with a foot by foot, for every foot of what was flood storage, say if the base flood elevation was 90 and the ground that the pad is going on is at 88, they would say how much is getting filled at level 88, at level 89 up to 90.
Right.
That's usually what you would see, but when there's no base flood elevation, can't as easily do that incremental calculations. So again, unfortunately, there is no number guidance I can provide. It's the determination of, is the displacement going to cause an increase in flood stage? And if yes, then compensatory storage is required to meet that volume.
Will that conduit that's going underground, what's the displacement? I don't even know if that's the right word. Does that?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, that wouldn't cause any
No.
flood storage displacement.
May I see this just pulled out a little bit? So I was just curious to see the location of the transformer, that whole transformer box.
Yeah, so this is the transformer pad location. This is just a civil sketch, so the actual route of the conduit is more accurately shown on figure 2. But this is a rough drawing. So the transformer pad is kind of in the middle of the 9 street lights, just right next to Massasoit Boulevard.
Do you know what the distance is from the actual road to the pad?
I'm not exactly sure. I think it was around like 10 feet or so. I'd have to check on our GIS system.
So Molly, did
Mhm.
the civil engineer do any kind of assessment on the displacement or potential displacement and increase in flood stage for the
No.
transformer?
No.
Do you know
they
why?
didn't. No, we typically don't do that for these smaller maintenance projects, or National Grid doesn't. So we need to go back and ask them to do that.
I mean, Megan, do any other commissioners have questions? And Joyce, those were good questions. And I can only see, so I'm sorry. I need to scroll down so I can see everybody. Okay. I think it's very hard for the commissioner to make a determination when there's no information coming from the applicant. I would really expect that the applicant civil engineer would have understood and acknowledged that this would be a question concern and would make some kind of statement supporting a statement whether they felt there would be displacement or not, and a requirement for compensatory storage. And if they found, they felt there was a need for compensatory storage, then of course that would be shown and provided for. Or if they felt that there wasn't a need for compensatory storage, that it was negligible, that statement would be provided with some confidence of information backing it up, so the commission could make a informed determination. I do not feel the commission can make an informed determination here. It would seem that it would be negligible, but we don't know that, and we're not engineers. So I feel the commission is in a very difficult place and not one that we need to be in.
Yeah, I can go back to them and request that.
Thank you. I think that would really help us out here.
I have one question from the last meeting.
Yes, Peggy.
I wanted to know how many light poles does this transformer power?
So this will power 9 streetlights, and 7 of those are within your jurisdiction.
And is there any other jurisdictional areas where the light poles would be replaced with a transformer, or the light pole would be replaced?
Nope, just these 7.
Just the 7. Thank you.
All right. Because I think this is the only outstanding question that the board really has at this point. Are you agreeable to continuing to the next
Sure.
meeting?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to continue 290 Thatcher Street to the June 13th? Is that, no, is that the right date? The 15th?
15th.
15.
15th.
I'll make a motion to continue Thatcher's 290 Thatcher Street to the next meeting, which is June 15th.
Do I have a second?
Zygmunt, second.
All in favor, Danielson, aye?
Clay,
Zygmunt,
I.
aye.
Curtis, I.
Motion- Motion passes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 82 Ames Street, a notice of intent for a commercial parking lot.
Not see the owner or his representative in the participants list.
And this is a continuation, correct, Megan?
Yes. It's been continued. I believe it would have been the March meeting when it would have opened. And originally for the March meeting, the applicant's engineer requested a continuance to the April meeting to provide a formal response to my report and Beta Stormwater report. As you recall, our April meeting was rescheduled to May 5th due to lack of quorum. There was no one in attendance for this project on May 5th. So the commission chose to continue to this meeting to give the applicant a chance to resolve if it was a confusion with the schedule. Since then, I have sent this agenda with the date and the Zoom information to the applicant and his engineer on 2 occasions. So I can say that they should be aware that they were on the agenda tonight.
Okay. And they did not request a continuation.
No, I have not had correspondence with the applicant or his engineers since just after their first continuance request. I received an email asking for some follow-up information, and he said he would be submitting a formal response again for the next, at that time, the next meeting. I've never gotten a formal response to either my report or Beta's report, and I've not had any more communication about continuances.
Did we issue an enforcement order for this, or were we trying to work with the?
An enforcement order, yes, was issued, And part of that order was that a notice of intent be filed to try to bring the site activities into compliance. So this was an after the fact NOI.
Okay. So we could send a follow-up letter basically saying they need to follow up and come back to the commission and respond to your comments and to Beta's comments. Or we will find them in violation of the enforcement order. Any comments? Anyone?
It looks like that enforcement order was a year ago. Is that correct? May of 2021?
Is that correct, Megan?
Yes, and
Yeah,
I would,
that's what it
yeah,
says.
and if the commission's going to issue another letter, I would ask they be very specific in what they're requesting, because again, we're looking at an enforcement order with, ongoing site activity. I will add, I did upload, I was out at the site today just to see the current site conditions. The site is still disturbed. They did have erosion controls at one point on either side of the channel. It looks like they are, the silt fence has fallen down, so the erosion situation is no longer dealt with. It looks like there still could be ongoing vehicle activity on the site, because there still looks to be disturbed soils, I would say within 100 feet of the channel. That looks like, there's still been activity of vehicles at minimum driving around out there. Again, we can't be sure what's being done because nothing's been proposed. So again, I would recommend anything that's sent out, we should decide and be very specific what we're requesting, because I think it's been laid out pretty specifically already, what's required here.
Did you obtain pictures that could be included with the letter today? Or when you said you went to see the site today?
Yes, I have the photos that are uploaded to your folder, so.
Oh, I wasn't able to, I got in, so
Yeah.
I didn't
Well,
have a chance
yes.
to see those. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll check.
Yes, so I do have those photos from today.
Megan, is this the site that the owners were pursuing a community host agreement for a marijuana growing facility?
I think
Yes.
so. I'm not,
It is.
I don't know what else is going on that side of it. I believe that is the case, but there's certainly, as far as I've seen, no plans for any work for that. And certainly we have not been shown any plans for anything other than the existing parking lot.
And
And how
Megan,
does
when
that
you,
oh.
sorry, go ahead, Joanne.
I was just going to ask, as part of that review process, does the mayor's office consider whether properties that basically, is the mayor's office aware that this property is under enforcement under Concom?
The mayor is aware. I don't
Okay.
know his procedure for
Yeah, okay.
reviewing applications.
I noticed that there's 9 return receipts for letters that were sent to different people associated with the property. Are those the abutters or are those owners? The certified mail receipts?
Yes, they are Proof of mailing for a butter notification required under the Wetlands Protection Act. The act requires that notification be sent to the owners of record within 100 feet of the property boundaries.
Have any of them responded at all to us or to them that you are aware of?
Not formally, no, I have not heard from anyone identifying themselves as through that notification process.
So Megan, when you were out at the site today, you didn't encounter anyone out there, property owner or anyone you could have?
No one was on the property, no one was working on the property. But again, there's evidence of, you know,
Ongoing
vehicle activity, yes.
So, I mean, in being specific, I mean, we could just reference the current letter, send a letter stating we are reiterating that you need to come back to the Conservation Commission at the next meeting on June 15th and address each of the issues and conditions that are outlined in the letter from March 8th, 2022. I mean, when you say vehicle activity, do you mean it just looks like there have been vehicles out there on the site? Or you'd said you're not quite sure what they're doing out there, what the operation is?
Yeah, I can't be sure what they're doing out there. They've cleared the site. They don't appear to be building anything.
Yeah.
But they've had equipment out there that cleared the site, it looks like, you know.
But they're not conducting any other site activity out there. Is that you observed?
They are continuing to disturb the soil, but again, I can't
So
say why or what they're doing.
Right. So maybe we also should state this is a cease and desist of any earth disturbance activities at the site.
And what about restoration of vegetation on the riverfront? I mean,
That was in my report that
yeah,
the NOI site plan needs to show a restoration plan for 25 feet on either side of the channel. So they're in receipt of that report. Again, I was told that there would be a formal response. I have not received one.
Yeah. So, and again, maybe that can be the start of the second letter is, you know, I was told we would be getting a response. There has been no communication with the Conservation Commission. These items are still outstanding and need to be addressed. And an update provided to the commission at the meeting on June 15th.
Madam Chair, there
Yes.
seems to be some chat activity from Art,
Oh, and
There.
Art has his hand raised.
who
Okay.
he's stating there were loaders there all weekend bringing cars in.
Anonymous attendee. Okay, we don't recognize anonymous attendees. So does the commission agree with that? Have other suggestions, modify the suggestion?
I think they should stop everything that they're doing until
Yeah,
they've been
Yeah, so
to the commission.
the
the
cease and
letter should,
desist.
the cease and desist. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
agree.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Megan, is that clear enough?
Yes, I just, you know, I'm just trying to clarify just again, the case, they have been issued an enforcement order, and I believe part of that enforcement order was a cease and desist.
Yeah.
So,
We need to bump it up to the next level. Is that notification through the legal channels? Is that correct?
it is, so under, again, under the Wetlands Protection Act, there is nothing the commission can do that's higher than issuing an enforcement order, besides directing the town council or city solicitor to take action. So following that, the next step beyond issuing an enforcement order is directing the law department that the enforcement order has not been adequately responded to.
So is that, I mean, it sounds like that's where we're at.
Right.
This has
I
been
was gonna
going on
say,
for a
I
year.
agree.
So
Right,
do you
I
need
agree.
do we need to vote that, Megan?
I don't think it would hurt.
Okay. Do I have a motion to escalate this to town solicitor or council? How do we?
We have a
I
city
work for a town-
solicitor. We have
to
a
the
city
city sol-
solicitor.
To the city solicitor to take the next step of action due to
second.
non-response from the applicant. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, Danielson, aye.
Clay,
Good
aye.
night.
Curtis, I.
Motion passes. And I'm sorry if I say motion passes a little too soon.
That's okay. That's no problem.
Everyone's. Okay, and then we've already continued Pleasant Street to June, and that looks like that is the agenda for the evening.
Stephanie, I'd like to add an unanticipated
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
enforcement issue.
Yep, I
If
forgot
the
about
chair,
that.
if the chairwoman would accept it as an unanticipated item.
Yes, I do accept it as an unanticipated item, so please go ahead.
Okay, so again, this was not posted on the agenda because this is an enforcement action I'm working on as of this week. I did upload, I have a draft enforcement order here. This is for, let me pull it up. This is for map 181-42 Howard Street, Claremont Ave. Stephanie, would you like me to run through the draft? Because I know this
Yes,
is.
please, yeah.
Okay. So the draft that I am providing here documents the facts as I have them. This is in response to a filing that the planning board received on May 7th, 2021 for a sports complex on parcels identified as map 182-44, 181-42, and 181-162. In addition to the proposed sports complex infrastructure, the submitted plan set also showed an existing earthen berm and gravel and debris piles proposed to remain on map 181-42. My review of aerial imagery shows that this earthen berm and gravel debris piles are not a pre-existing continuous use. It appears they did not exist in their current and ongoing condition prior to 2016. So in a comment letter as part of the tech review process for the site plan review application, I requested that the applicant have a wetland scientist flag any wetland resources on all of the subject parcels, and that they then submit the appropriate commission filing for all site work on the subject parcels, including the existing berm and gravel features that were proposed to be a continuing use. This request was reiterated verbally at tech review meetings on May 24th, 2021 and July 26th, 2021. On May 11th, 2022, the applicant submitted a revised set of plans in support of the site plan review application. This revised set of plans shows a wetland resource area boundary labeled as flags A2 through A56 and a 100-foot buffer zone in the southwestern section of map 181-42. A response letter said that the applicant would be submitting a request for determination in response because the proposed sports complex is located outside the shown 100-foot buffer zone. No indication was made that either the applicant or the property owner would be submitting a filing that addresses the existing earthen berm and gravel debris piles. Based on this information that I have to date, portions of the existing berm and gravel debris piles are within the 100-foot buffer zone to the wetland resource area shown on the latest plan. There is no order of conditions that this activity or those features were put in place under. So based on that, the existing ongoing berm and piles and any activity associated with those features are in violation of the regulations. So again, that is what's outlined in the cover letter draft. In terms of required mitigation, my suggestion, again, my suggestion is 3 parts. 1 would be a cease and desist of all earth moving activities within the wetland resource area in the 100-foot buffer zone. 2, erosion control barrier established along the edge of the existing disturbance footprint. 3, a restoration plan shall be submitted to the commission, and that restoration plan should include a full wetland delineation report from a wetland scientist, a fill management plan from a licensed site professional, and a long-term sedimentation and erosion control plan. My recommendation for a deadline for that restoration plan would be June 15th, but I open it up to the commission for their comments on their action.
I have one question, Megan, is you talk about this in your letter, that this was a site that was being considered for a sports complex development. And this unpermitted work has since taken place. Is this the area that is being used for demolition and debris I think it's recycling operation
Yes, I
that's
don't
been
know,
unpermitted?
Yes, I don't know exactly, the most technical way to describe it, but yes, at least in terms of, again, how I'm interpreting it, at minimum, there is filling associated with some sort of operation that involves an earthen berm and gravel and debris piles.
Okay. I agree with all of your recommendations. Do any of the other commissioners have questions or comments?
I agree as well.
Me too.
I also agree.
Okay. So Megan, please prepare and.
Are you voting to issue an enforcement order?
Yes. Motion to issue, do we have a motion to issue an enforcement order?
Joanne, so moved.
Second,
All in favor, Danielson, aye?
Clay,
Whitten,
aye.
Okay. and
Curtis,
the order-
I.
Or I
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right. Is there anything else?
I have no more late
I just had a very
filings.
quick question when I quickly went over the minutes. The sign people that were over on Liberty Street, they never submitted a new sign.
They just have, they
Oh, okay.
submitted today a notice of intent.
Okay, so that'll be on the
Yes.
next agenda? Is that
Yes.
right? Okay. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank everyone for participating tonight. I know that it can be a challenge for everyone, but as much as everyone can be here, it's important so that we have quorum. It's respectful to our applicants. It's also respectful to all the members on the board. This is a major commitment for people, and I just want to recognize that and how much it's appreciated. And especially such a thoughtful group of people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye.
We have a motion to
Right.
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, Daniels and I.
Clay, aye.
Sigmund, aye.
Of course, I.
Side.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.